You've been there 4 years, maybe 6, maybe 9. You've turned down calls from recruiters because it felt wrong to listen. You've watched external offers show up on LinkedIn and told yourself it wasn't the right time. You didn't even save the emails. And while you were doing that, you were getting cheaper. Not eventually, not in theory. Every single year you stayed without testing the market, your value inside that building dropped relative to what you'd be worth outside it. Loyalty doesn't feel like a financial decision. It feels like character, and that's exactly why it costs you. Here's what they know that you don't. Loyal employees are the cheapest people in the building to keep, not because they produce less, because they stop negotiating. They stop creating urgency. They stop operating like someone the company could actually lose. You become a known quantity, and known quantities don't get market rate raises. They get cost of living bumps. They get "we'll revisit this next quarter." They get thanked for their patience while someone who just joined is making 20% more than you for the same work. Patience is just another word for discounted labor. Raises don't follow performance, they follow risk. Promotions don't follow contribution, they follow the threat of departure. Protection doesn't follow tenure, it follows replaceability. If you're not a flight risk, you're not a priority. If you've already proven you'll stay for less, they'll let you. They call it a family when they need you to absorb things a business relationship wouldn't tolerate. When they need you to cover understaffing. When they need you to accept delayed promotions. When they need you to take on director-level responsibility while they finalize the headcount plan. Families don't lay off 8% of the household to improve quarterly earnings. Families don't hire externally at rates they told you weren't in the budget. But they'll use the word anyway, because it works. It makes you feel disloyal for advocating for yourself. It makes leaving feel like abandonment. It reframes your boundaries as lack of commitment. And while you're wrestling with that guilt, the person who started 6 months ago negotiated better than you did after 3 years of exceeding expectations. Here's the trap nobody explains. The longer you stay, the more you become infrastructure. You know the systems, the people, the unspoken rules, the 15 workarounds that keep everything running. You've absorbed the institutional knowledge no one else has. And infrastructure doesn't get promoted, it gets assumed. Your contributions stop registering as exceptional. They become the baseline. The standard everyone else gets measured against. Your reliability stops being an asset. It becomes an expectation. Management doesn't think, how do we reward this person? They think, what happens if we don't? And if the answer is probably nothing, you're not getting rewarded. You know what loyalty actually does? It removes your negotiating position and calls it professionalism. Every year you don't interview externally, you lose calibration. You stop knowing what you're worth outside that building. You stop knowing what title you'd command, what salary range you'd clear, what leverage you actually have. And in the absence of that information, you accept their version of your value, which is always lower, because they're pricing you based on what you've been willing to accept, not what the market would pay. You're not being cautious. You're outsourcing your compensation strategy to the people who benefit from you staying underpriced. The people who get ahead aren't the most loyal. They're the most willing to be inconvenient. They ask directly. They don't wait for performance reviews to surface compensation gaps. They don't accept vague timelines. They don't absorb "not right now" without escalation. And when the answer doesn't match the effort, they leave. Not because they're disloyal, because they understand that loyalty without reciprocity isn't integrity. It's just submission with better marketing. You were taught that job hopping looks bad, that stability signals professionalism, that leaving too soon makes you look flighty, uncommitted, unable to see things through. So you stayed. And while you stayed, the market moved. Compensation bands shifted, titles inflated. Remote work broke geographic constraints. Entire salary ranges recalibrated around you while you were waiting for your turn. The people who moved made gains you'll spend 4 years trying to close internally. Not because they were better, because they moved when movement had the highest return. Timing beats loyalty, and the system knows it. The worst part isn't the money. It's the realization that you made yourself cheaper by trying to do the right thing. That the qualities you thought mattered, consistency, follow-through, dedication, were only valuable to the extent that they kept you in place at a discount. You didn't fail. The incentives failed you, but you absorbed it as a personal shortcoming. You wondered what you did wrong, why you weren't advancing at the rate you should have been, while people with less experience kept leapfrogging you. You didn't do anything wrong. You just kept playing a game where loyalty was rewarded with speeches and market awareness was rewarded with money. Here's what they won't say out loud. Your loyalty makes you less valuable, not more, because value in this system is determined by what someone else might pay to take you. And if you're not in the market, no one's bidding. Internal equity doesn't exist. Fairness doesn't scale. Contribution gets acknowledged right up until acknowledging it costs something. The raise you didn't get wasn't an oversight. It was a pricing decision, and you gave them the data to make it. Once you see loyalty for what it actually is, you can't unsee it. It's not virtue. It's not strategy. It's not patience paying off. It's years you can't buy back. Salary you'll never recover. Comp gaps that compound while you're waiting for fairness that isn't coming. The system didn't fail to reward you. It succeeded in getting years of underpriced work.